Welcome to the Matt Dan Toddcast. I'm your host, Matt, but you can call me Matt Dan Todd for short. Hello, podcast land, world, galaxy. It's time for another edition of the Matt Dan Toddcast. Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be a really, really special treat because it is May. And while May means a lot of things here in the Indy area, especially when it comes to a pretty big race that's been around for more than 100 years, it also means all things Star Wars. And I am super geeked out about that. From May 4th, May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day, to Orthodox Star Wars Day, which is May 25th, celebrating the date that the first Star Wars episode, A New Hope, the fourth Star Wars episode was released on May 25th. To all things in between, it's the perfect month to celebrate all things Star Wars. And so that's what we're going to do on this podcast. As you probably know, Star Wars has had a big impact on my life over the years, really fed into my love for space, but also really opened my eyes to the beauty and to the power of storytelling and great films, and how all of that can really connect people. Because that's what Star Wars does. It connects people. So as I was thinking about how to talk about Star Wars Day on this little podcast, I realized there are a whole lot of other people that I know that love Star Wars as much as, or maybe even more than I do. So why not give them a voice? Why not let them share their stories and the way Star Wars has impacted them? And so that's what we're going to do over the next few weeks. It's a really exciting series. I'm really happy about this series of conversations about Star Wars. And so that's what we're starting today. Since, in the Phantom Menace, they celebrate Bunta Eve, and I was assuming that there's a Bunta Day, maybe too. I don't know, but today we're actually start kicking things off with a Star Wars Day Eve conversation. So welcome to the first episode of these Star Wars holiday specials, right? And the first person I talked to is someone that I have known since high school. We were in band together. We sat together in classes a lot of the times. When we would get bored in class, we would share notes back and forth, talking, just keeping each other updated on our day, and would always wind up quoting Star Wars to each other during those handwritten conversations. Her name is Tracy, and I'm excited to share a little bit of her insight into the Star Wars saga. A couple of things you should know about this conversation. You remember I keep struggling with this idea of where to record my podcast episodes. Well, that rears its ugly head a little bit in this conversation. You'll, every once in a while, if you listen real close, you'll hear some dogs barking in the background. Those are my dogs. And I realize I can probably find some kind of audio software to edit those out, but I'm not high tech enough for this yet. You got the bare bones here, but that's okay, because the conversation is still great. The insight is still pretty spot on. And it's really fun to get to hear these stories. So one memory I have with Tracy is when I was in high school, my friends and I would do these Star Wars marathons. We'd get together and we would just watch all three of the original trilogy back to back in order. and take a whole day doing it. One of those times was right after I was at Philmont Scout Ranch, spending 10 days in the backcountry hiking. Um, you don't really have any technology there. It's beautiful scenery, beautiful, um, just a beautiful place, an amazing place. But you do get a little homesick while you're there too, and miss some of the creature comforts at home. And so my friends and I, we planned on having, when we got home, as soon as we got home, we would have this Star Wars marathon, and watch all of them, watch all the movies back to back to back, and just eat a bunch of Pizza Hut pizza the whole time. And we did that. That might have been the first time I had one of these Star Wars marathons, but another time it was kind of like they became these celebrations, right? These Star Wars celebrations, because another time um, was, I think it was, after I graduated from high school. We had the graduation ceremony. We went and did the Parent Teacher Association sponsored senior graduation night party afterwards, like the after party kind of thing. And people won prizes. And I remember playing volleyball with friends. And then we came back to my house and had another Star Wars marathon all night long. And Tracy was there for that. I could be wrong about the timing. It could have been a different time, but it was sometime around that. And Tracy was there with some of my friends, and we would watch. This time we watched my relatively brand new uh, VHS box set of the letterbox versions of the Star Wars saga. I was so proud of those, so happy of those. A lot of my friends got together and pooled money together to get. It was a pretty special thing, and I was pretty happy to watch it with everyone I knew. In case you aren't familiar with Letterbox Edition, when VHSs would be released, actually DVDs would do the same thing. When they would be released, they the perspective on the TVs was more square, right? Instead of the big wide screen like a movie theater. And you had to make those. There's two things you can do to make that fit into a big screen, onto the big screen fit into a small screen. One is to kind of chop off the ends and kind of create a TV version, and the other is to just show the whole thing with these black bars on the top and the bottom. Most VHS tapes and most DVDs would do the chopped off version, so you miss the stuff on the right and the left, basically, because it's a little bit smaller on a square screen, and it's a little harder. But you miss out, and Letterbox kind of restores that. The widescreen edition kind of restores that to the original director's vision, and it's just a much more full experience. You don't have that as much of an issue now with the dimensions that TVs are, but it's still there every once in a while. But these were a huge thing, and it was a big deal to me to be able to have those, to have the pure experience, right, of Star Wars. So anyway, I've already talked too much. Let's just go ahead and hear what Tracy has to say about her Star Wars experience. Tracy, I want to thank you for joining me to talk Star Wars a little bit. When I really started thinking about doing all of this, you were one of the first people that came to mind, because I know, and that well, you're probably one of the biggest Star Wars fans I knew in high school, and so you should take that as quite the compliment, because I knew quite a few. But you were definitely one of the first ones to come to mind. So thanks again for joining me for this little Star Wars geeking out that we get to do.
That's what I always call
it. So would you mind telling me just a little bit about yourself? Or, I mean, obviously I know you.
Well, yeah.
But our three listeners don't necessarily know you.
Being born in 76, I grew up with Star Wars.
Yeah.
One of my earliest memories that I have is my mom bundling me and my sister up in the car to go to the drive-in to watch Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, cool.
And that would have been 80. So I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
But I that's one of my early memories is going to watch Empire Strikes Back. And I think mom took me and my sister to see that. Oh, I can't even remember how many times. Um, and my whole family loves Star Wars, so it's just always been around.
Cool.
Uh,
Cool.
I'm
That's
trying to
the
get
way.
my grandkids into it though, and they're not having it.
Well, there's still a little bit of time, right? They can
Yeah,
they can learn on. You'll pass on what you have learned, right?
I'm hoping, but they're
Um,
difficult. What are you going to do?
right, right.
Everything is
Um,
Marvel and the Avengers anymore. So
yeah, that's a tough competition to have, I would
yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah,
And
definitely.
everything is competing for their attention all the time, right? And um,
Well, they've got
everything
technology that we couldn't have even dreamed of when we were kids.
exactly, and it's all flashier
Yeah, the fact
and
that we could put in a tape and actually see a movie we wanted to watch was like a big deal to
that
us.
was crazy. That was crazy. And now
Like I can watch
that's
this anytime I want. Oh my goodness.
yeah. And now that's ancient technology that belongs in a
Hmm.
museum, right?
Yeah. Now they just pull it up on their phones or their
Yep.
tablet or online. It's just it. I never would have imagined it when we were kids.
Right. Right. It's George Jetson kind of stuff, right? Like it's the
Yes.
future. Like we're living in the
Yes.
future right
You
now. And
got
that's
Rosie cleaning the house, and
yeah.
you got the video phones talking to Mr. Spacely, and yeah.
Yeah. Except I missed out on Rosie. We kind of need Rosie here, I think. But
Oh yeah,
that's another
yeah. That would
conversation for
definitely be
another
a
time.
good thing to have.
So back to Star Wars. I've heard someone describe it once that picking your favorite Star Wars film is kind of like picking your favorite child. Sometimes you can't really do that, but I'm asking you to do it anyway. Which film is your favorite?
I am a purist.
Yeah,
A New Hope is my favorite. It has
I get
always
that.
been, and I think it always will be.
Yeah.
Because that's what got me going on it.
Yep.
And you're meeting all these characters, and you don't know their backstories yet. You don't know what happens. It's just this is what is happening in that particular moment of time.
Yep.
And now you watch it differently now than what you would have then, because now you know how Anakin turned, and how Leia came from Alderaan and all that. So it makes you see it a little bit differently now, knowing what happens in the future and in the past. But that still is my go-to.
Yep.
That's my main one that I can watch it over and over and over.
I get that. And I did. I watched it over and over and over and over. And thinking back to the VCR days, I mean, it was a big deal. One, that my grandparents had a VCR, and two, that they recorded the CBS special broadcast of Star Wars. And so every time I would go over to their house, which was a lot, I watched that at least 2 or 3 times while I was there. And so I get it. There's something just completely magical about that
Hmm.
first film that uh
I remember whenever you got them in the letterbox version, you were so
yeah.
excited.
I still am. They still we've gotten rid of a lot of our video cassettes, right? But that one
Yeah,
still it still
I still
maintains a
have my
place in
trilogy
the
on
house.
on VHS,
Yeah.
my original trilogy on VHS. I don't have a VCR,
No,
but I
we don't
still
either.
have the tapes.
Yep. I
Yeah,
get
I
that.
can't
I'm
bring
right there
myself to
with
get
you.
rid of them.
Yep. Someday VCRs will make a comeback, right? And we'll just pop them in and show the kids what it was like back
Hey,
then.
it's possible because vinyl's making a
Right.
comeback.
Right.
I have a
Uh,
son that is obsessed with collecting records right now.
wow.
And it's just like I never would have thought that would have come back around after everything being digital. But
Right. Right. And we kind of mocked that, when
mhm,
CDs came out, we are like, oh, vinyl's so old
yeah,
school,
and now
right?
it's come back around.
And now it's
All
cool.
these Zoomers nowadays think it's the retro thing is in. So
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, he just loves collecting vinyl. So maybe VCR tapes will come back around.
Well, let's hold out hope, right?
Yep.
Then we'll make a killing with the
Oh
old
yeah,
school
my
stuff.
oh goodness, if you shoot, saw the collection, it'd be insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So, who's your favorite character?
I gotta go with Princess Leia. It may be
Yeah.
cliche, but she was just standing in the face of Darth Vader. She showed no fear.
Yeah.
I mean, she basically talked to him like he wasn't anything.
Yeah.
And that was so cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and she kind of had a smart mouth, right?
Hmm.
And
I can relate to that.
nothing, yeah, nothing personal, but I can see that connection for sure. And wouldn't take it from anyone. And
No, she didn't.
I can certainly see that.
Yeah, whether it be Tarkin or Vader, I mean, she basically spit in their faces,
Yep.
whenever she
Yep.
had the chance.
Yeah.
So,
Not a surprise with your answer there
yeah.
at all. um, I do have a question though, like, because I keep hearing these stories even now about girls getting made fun of for watching Star Wars or being Star Wars fans,
Yep.
and did you ever get picked on for that? I
Hmm.
realized you had
Yeah.
family support, but
No,
okay.
it wasn't in my family, but other kids would, because I had an action figure collection
Mm-hmm.
that I had the Darth Vader carrying case,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my Ice World of Hoth, display, and
Mm-hmm.
I had all the action figures and everything. And um, people would come over and I'm like, they want to play Barbies. And I'm like, I
Right.
want to play, I got my at here and let's
Right.
go.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it wasn't a girly thing, so to
Uh-huh.
speak. And then it's like when Underoos came out, they didn't have any girl Underoos for Star Wars.
Yeah, that's too bad.
They had R2D2 and C3PO for boys,
Uh-huh.
and that was it. And I was like, this sucks because I want to, I like the Underoos too.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, my friends would come over and, they were wanting to play Barbies or My Little Ponies or whatever. And I'm like, no, man, look, I got Chewbacca here
Yeah.
and look at my TIE fighter. But, and that is one collection. Oh gosh, I wish I'd have never gotten rid of that
Yeah.
because that would be worth so much money now. But, I outgrew it and, never would have thought that we'd have gotten another six movies at that point and where I could have added on to the collection over the years.
Right.
But yeah, I would sit in my room for hours playing with my action figures and rearranging them in the carrying cases. And but yeah, it wasn't considered a girly thing to do. They wanted to do tea parties and My Little Ponies, and I'm like, nope.
Right. Right. And that's too bad. That's too bad that it wasn't considered a girly thing to do at the time because there was an empowering example um, for sure in Princess Leia, right? Like,
Well, she was pretty much the
but
other
she was the
than
only one, right?
Padme in the prequels.
Right.
Um, yeah, she was it. There was like one other female in the entire movies, and she didn't show up until Return of the Jedi.
Right. Right.
And even then, it was just a blink and you miss it kind of part. Other than like maybe Aunt Beru, but I mean, she
Right.
had
She lasted,
4 words the whole movie.
and then she had an untimely end.
Yeah. So I
So,
mean, all we had was Leia to
right.
represent the female population.
Right.
Um, and she did a darn fine job doing it.
Right.
Uh, but yeah,
But you
I
could
mean,
have used a few more for sure.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
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 And nowadays, you can see in the newer movies that they have addressed that. There are definitely more female characters,
Yeah.
like in Rogue One and things like that. There's a lot more female representation than there was in the original trilogy.
Well, I'm glad you think that. And I'm glad you see that. Because and I hope that that continues to uh, they continue to make strides and improve that.
Well, Ray being the main one in the new movies was really a huge step.
Right. I agree.
With her being like the penultimate person there, it's just, yeah, that was a big thing.
Right.
Of course, then you're wondering for 3 movies who she is. But,
Right.
you
And maybe
know,
even after the last one, you're still not
yeah,
entirely
I,
sure. But
I, I totally didn't call that one. I'm
yeah.
telling you. I
Yeah.
thought that, she was a clone made off of Luke's hand from Bespin
Yep. Yep.
and, or even a clone of Anakin at some point, because, I mean, they had all kinds of his DNA when they,
Right.
uh, after the fight with Obi-Wan.
Right.
So, yeah, but yeah, I never, never even remotely thought
Yeah, that one threw
she
me
would be
off
who
too.
they said
Right.
she was. I'm like, what? Okay, but yeah, it was good to see that they took a young female and then they bridged the gap with her and Leia.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
fact that
And
they
those
kind of
were,
had that relationship was good too.
yeah, I thought those were good scenes. And I thought
Yes,
that
they
was
were.
important to have as well.
Yes.
Full disclosure for anyone listening, I did kind of feed some questions to Tracy. I feed it to anyone that I'm asking, but I don't remember if I included this one. So it's okay if you don't really have one off the top of your head. Um, uh, are there any favorite quotes that you like to use in regular day life
Oh,
from the
good grief.
movies?
There's just, oh my gosh.
The whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk along with it's the first three, the original trilogy, just like I'm quoting it.
Right.
But, you get things that pop up every once in a while. The do or do not, there is no try,
Uh-huh.
things like that. Just speaking like Yoda in general sometimes is
Yeah.
funny. Um, but I've got a big German Shepherd dog, German Shepherd mix. He's actually named Chewy.
Right.
Um, and actually, I tell my husband his government name is Chewbacca Falcon, but we're not going to get into that.
No.
And but I use the somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way
No, that's perfect. That's
when
perfect
I'm trying
for
to
your
get through the
dog.
house and this giant dog is in front of me.
Yeah.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way? But yeah, there's just little things eke in here and there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, and when you've watched it so much, it's
hmm
just
like
it's
a
become a
certain
part of
word
you,
will
right?
trigger a memory of a quote, and it's like you can't stop yourself from saying it.
Yep. I agree.
It's like the try thing. No, do or do not.
Yep.
There is no try.
Yep.
Then you're like, okay, yeah, I'm a geek. Sorry.
And you probably didn't reckon you might not have recognized that when I said it to you, like,
No, no.
but
And
that's
my
okay.
boys
I know
even,
what I'm talking about.
yeah, my boys even like, what? I'm like, oh, I failed my
Yeah,
children. They just never got
sometimes.
into it. But what
That's
are you gonna do?
okay. That's okay. You did your best.
Yeah,
um, During the dark times that I like to call them, the time between the original trilogy
Return
and
of the
the arrival.
Jedi and the Phantom Menace.
Yes. Did there were a few books that came out, Heir to the Empire and things like that, and some comics and stuff like that. Did you follow any of that at all? Were
I
you able to keep
tried to
track?
read one time,
Okay.
and I couldn't even tell you really what, like, I don't know what like line it was from or whatever, but I remember the main thing I remember is that Han and Leia had three children.
Okay.
They had twins, I think Jaina and
Uh-huh.
Jason,
Jaina and
maybe,
Jason. Yep.
and then
And
Anakin.
Anakin. Yep.
And Anakin was being seduced by the dark side again, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Well,
I
and
tried
yeah.
several times. I really couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I get it.
Um, and I kind of found that with Rogue One too. I just
Okay.
it wasn't Rogue One didn't seem as familiar to me as some of the other movies did. Like I geeked out hard when the Force Awakens comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just because that movie was riddled in nostalgia.
Right.
You got to see the Millennium Falcon again. There was Han all of a sudden. There's Chewie.
Right. And then it's all true. All of
Yes,
it. I mean, I think that's a pretty important part right there where he's
yeah.
standing on the Millennium Falcon. He can remember
And he's
when
like,
he
I'm
told
home. And I'm
off
like, oh my
Obi-Wan.
gosh, that's
Right.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So, um,
yeah,
I had a
I
question that
haven't
I
really
lost.
been able to connect to anything really as well
Okay.
as I have 4 through 6.
Okay. So do you feel the same way about the Han Solo movie?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I haven't
Okay.
seen that yet. My mother keeps trying to get me to watch The Mandalorian,
Yeah.
and I think I'm gonna have to sit down and do it.
Okay.
Um, the thing is, though, is I'm really bad about reading about things, so I know a
You
lot
know
of
everything.
what's going on.
Well,
I just
Facebook did a
haven't
good job of
actually
ruining.
watched it.
Yeah. Yeah. Facebook did
So
a really good job of spoiling all of that.
Well, they do
Um,
that with everything. I
yeah.
mean, it's like, I don't even feel like I need to watch it now. They've already
Right.
told me everything that happens.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
So
think I have the attention span as much anymore to just sit and watch a 2.5 hour
I
movie.
I get that. I get that.
But the Mandalorian episodes aren't that long, so that may be perfect for me. So,
Yeah. It's clear that the creators of the Mandalorian and these other series too um, are steeped in the nostalgia, and
yes.
so you'll there'll be several Easter eggs in it that you'll see that you'll be like, oh, they know what they're doing, or at least
But that's
I
what my
might
mom
not.
says, is that you see things tie in
Yeah, yeah.
that
That
you
only
wouldn't
geeks
have
like us
necessarily
might
caught
notice.
before.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And see, my mom's a geek like it too. So,
Yeah, so
and then
that's
my
cool.
aunt and my cousins, and they've all watched it, and they're like, "You haven't watched it yet?" No, I haven't yet. But they say that there's things that tie in. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I think one of these days I'm just gonna have to go through and watch them all.
yeah. Bite the
And I
bullet.
saw a thing online. It's an order of
Yes,
how to watch everything, kind of like the Marvel thing, where you watch this
right.
one, then this one, and I saw that with the you watch this, and then you watch the solo movie, and then you watch Obi-Wan and all that back and forth. Because from what I understand, Obi-Wan, from what I heard, dealt with Leia a whole lot more
Yes, it did.
than
A young
anybody would
Leia.
have known before.
Yes, yes, and
So,
it's
because I know a lot of
it's
people were
good.
cheesed when she suddenly had the Force when she's
Yeah,
out in
but
space. It
yeah,
kind of seemed like a cop out.
I get that.
But
Um,
then it ties in Obi-Wan, from what I understand. So,
yeah, to a certain degree, from a certain point of view, yes, it
oh,
does.
sorry, spoiler alert.
Well, yeah, no worries there. Um, because again, only three people are listening to this, so it's
Okay.
okay. um, so it's just you and me talking here. If you decide to watch the Ahsoka series, it sounds like you might want to watch at least some of the end of the Clone Wars um, animated series and some of Rebels. Just a heads up,
Okay.
because or if not, you will have no idea who she is and why she matters. But
So,
there's another strong female character that is she's she's pretty great. No one liked her in
okay.
the beginning, kind of like
Well, that's
Luke,
usually the way it goes.
right? But she whiny and kind of a snot nosed brat like
Mm,
Luke,
yeah,
and like all teenagers tend to be too, right?
pretty much. Yeah.
I never was, you never were, but
No, no, no,
everyone
no, no.
else
But this
everyone
new
else has been.
generation, I tell you, man, they're
Exactly.
horrible.
So just a side note there. If you want to do that, it would be, you need to get some of the backstory, I would think, before you
Well, and that's
understand.
what I'm understanding, is that a lot of these offshoots are really rich in backstory.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you
they
know,
are. They are.
you
Personally,
just
I would
catch
stay
things like
away.
you said, Easter eggs here and there that
Yeah,
tie in. You're like, oh, okay.
personally, I would stay away from Book of Boba Fett, but I I had a very strong feeling that we didn't need that anyway.
Okay.
I thought he needed to remain a mysterious, cool character instead of showing us, his all of his dark secrets, and or not so dark secrets, just his story. When you reveal it all to the light, he's not nearly as exciting to me. But
Not
everyone else
dark and
loved it, so
mysterious.
whatever. Yeah,
Well, my big thing was, how the heck did he get out of the Sarlacc pit?
yeah. Well, they show that.
Because my mom, yeah, I know, it's what
Yeah,
my aunt was telling me. I was like, wait, what? He
right.
fell in the Sarlacc
Yeah,
pit and it's supposed to be digested over 1,000
thousand.
years.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And
But
now suddenly he's got his own series. Are you kidding me?
well, as we've discovered, no one's ever truly gone in Star
Well,
Wars,
yes, that Palpatine
unless
proved that.
unless your name is Padme, and then
Yes.
you're gone. And
Yeah, I mean, there was just no ifs, ands, or buts on that one. It's
right,
just like, and that one that kind of irritated me, the way that one always went down. It's just that she was so strong,
Hmm.
and then, oh, she died of a broken
Died of
heart.
a broken heart. You're breaking my heart.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. But I mean, I know she had to die in order for A New Hope to even happen with Luke and Leia and everything, but it just it just seemed like a cop out again. It's
I
just like,
agree. And can you imagine what the dynamic it would have been if she had somehow been part of the seed of the rebellion at the
yeah,
beginning, you know, like maybe
yeah,
Mon Mothma's position, or encouraged Mon Mothma to do what she's doing. It just
yeah.
yeah, I feel like it was a cop out. You're right, a cop out, and there was
Because it
just
would have
so much
well,
potential there that
that
was
almost would have
lost.
been nice too for Leia to be kind of studying under Padme
Yeah,
the way that Rey was with Leia later on.
yeah, yeah,
So that would have been a nice full circle type of thing.
yeah,
Um, but no, they just, she had a broken
yeah.
heart, and you know,
And that's the end. That's the end of her. And maybe they learned a lesson with that with Ahsoka and with Rey and
yeah,
with Leia. You know, I don't know. They still could have brought her back because they brought everyone else back. But
yeah. I
and
mean,
who
yeah,
knows? Maybe they will. Maybe in the next trilogy, all of a sudden Padme shows up. But
yeah, that would be crazy.
it's kind of like a soap opera, right? There,
Yeah,
no one's ever
yes.
truly gone.
How many times Stefano Demira died in Days of Our Lives, and you know, he was dead 5 times when I was a kid, and I think he's still alive.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Crazy
nobody
stuff.
ever really dies in soap operas or in space, apparently,
Apparently, it's
except Padme.
except Padme, unless your name's
Yep.
Padme, and then you're toast.
Yep.
Do you have anything else to share? Any other memories or things to pass on what you've learned?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
if it's just a beautiful story all the way around. There are parts that drag. Um, Basically, the second movie in every trilogy kind of has a slow point.
Hmm.
Um, because I'm really not a big fan of Empire Strikes Back. Never have been,
Okay.
because it just kind of, there was so much action in A New Hope, and then all the Dagobah and all that was just really kind of draggy to me
Okay.
in Empire, and then the same with the Clone Wars, and the same with the Last Jedi. It just,
Yeah.
they, to
Yeah.
me, they weren't the best out of their respective groups.
I get that.
I
That's
understand
fair.
they advanced the story,
Right. And the
but
character development. Well,
yes,
at least Empire does.
yes, Empire definitely does.
I don't know about Attack of the Clones.
And then
Um,
I'm not really sure on, yeah, not the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, what I meant.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I knew exactly what you meant. I wasn't
yeah,
trying to correct you there.
no, but
Yeah.
it was just one of those things. It's just like, all right, come on, because you get all the Senate stuff, and I'm like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, come on.
Yep. So
Get up, let's go.
I've decided that because I'm asking everyone their favorite film, and if anyone does happen to mention episode 2, I will probably end the interview right then
Yeah,
and
because
there
no,
because I don't
that
know if there's
person
anything
is
else.
mentally unwell,
Yeah.
and it
And they
needs to
need to
go
seek
get
help.
checked
Yes.
in somewhere, because
Yeah.
and then it's really slow, and then you got Jar Jar flopping around the whole time. Nope.
Yeah. I I'm right there with you with
I've
episode 2 for
watched it.
sure.
I've literally watched that movie one time.
Oh, I wish that was all I watched of that one. But for
I've
a
watched the
while,
other ones multiple times, but I have literally watched Attack of the Clones one time.
that was my kid's favorite
Oh goodness, I'm
of the
sorry.
series. And I was like, we got to do something here. I've convinced them otherwise now, but maybe it says something that it was a 10-year-old's favorite movie, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
realize these are films made for kids, really, in the
No, they're
end.
not. Don't tell me
Well, they
that.
say they are. They Lucas, of course, has gone back and said that these are films made for kids.
The
Clearly,
Phantom
episode
Menace was
one
made for
or
all of
episode four
us
is not.
Gen Xers.
Yeah, yeah, but
That's
clearly,
what the
episode
Phantom
four was
Menace
not.
was. That was nostalgia of our childhood.
Yeah,
The
you're
whole
right.
movie.
You're right. You are 100% right.
Like as
But you got
soon
to
as the
sell the toys
music
somehow.
started in the theater, I got goosebumps. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then you
yeah,
see Han and Chewie and everybody, and it's like, oh, I cried when Ben stabbed his dad.
yeah.
Like, oh my
Well,
gosh.
Yeah.
But
Knowing that that trilogy was ending, um, I think I, I, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the third trilogy, I'm sorry if we're spoiling something, but you've had years now to watch it, right? So when Han shows up, hey kid, and he's talking to Ben, in the third one, in the Rise of Skywalker, from that point on through the rest of the movie, I had tears running down my face just the whole time. Probably because it's the end of the story. It's the end of this saga, but um, but still, it just I had tears rolling down my
it
face the
was
rest
kind
of
of
the
a very
film.
final type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and that was unexpected that he would show up
Yeah.
for me because
Well,
you know
because
how
he,
much he hated being the character.
yeah, that's the thing is, he said the only reason he would do the or not the Phantom Menace, the Force Awakens, is if they killed him off.
Right. Yeah.
So he's always had a kind of a love-hate
Yeah.
relationship with that character.
Which is unfortunate because uh it was clear that Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and Peter May, all of them have like embraced it, and they understand
Hmm.
what the characters have done, what they've meant to, at least to our generation, well, and to
Instead of
subsequent
fighting it, they
generations
leaned
too.
into it.
Yeah, leaned into it and were able to um, have fun with it,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, they made a little money from it too.
Or Carrie
No.
Fisher saying that she sold her likeness rights, so every time she looks in the mirror, she had to send George Lucas a couple bucks. I
That's
loved her
funny.
as a person, let
Yeah.
alone even as Leia.
Yeah.
She didn't hold back,
Yeah.
even in her real life. She just didn't hold back on anything. So
Yeah. Yeah. We we lost a good one there,
yeah, it was
and
very
she's
sad when she
certainly
died.
missed. Yeah.
She was crazy as a loon, but
Right.
she was awesome.
Well, yeah.
Well, she embraced that too. I mean, so
Right. And I'm sure that has helped people throughout the years. Once you start uh, talking about it and uh, normalizing it, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, she was very vocal about the struggles that she had,
yeah,
and that was one thing I did admire about her
yeah,
because she never held back.
yeah. Don't get me wrong, normalizing it, not in a way thinking, oh, this is okay that I'm still doing this or I'm still going through this, but no, it's okay that I'm getting help, right?
Yes, it's okay that
It's
I'm like
normal.
this, and don't
Right.
hide in the shadows because you're struggling with something.
Right. Right. I just wanted to make sure that was very clear
Yes.
because
Now
we
I'm
all
not
need help.
normalizing being, as she called herself, fat crap crazy,
Right.
but yeah, but I mean, she embraced it. She's like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm crazy.
She did.
She
She
had her
did.
emotional support dog that looked like it got ran over, and she just, that was a big loss when
Well,
she
have you
died.
heard
But
the news that on May 5th, May 4th, that she's getting her star on the Walk of
yes,
Fame?
I saw that.
So,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
was actually surprised to find out she didn't already have it.
right. It's 20 or 30 years too late, but, still good
But
for her.
her daughter being in the movies too really
Yeah.
kind of brought that around.
Yeah.
Um, and I think her daughter's going to be the one that accepts the star.
Oh, okay. Cool. And
So,
then, and then Debbie Reynolds is right across the street. Her star
oh,
is right
she's going
across the
in right
street.
there. Now that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that part. I knew she was getting a star on the fourth, but
Yeah.
I didn't know she was going to be that close to her mom.
Yeah. Pretty
Because that was
cool.
a shame too. Whenever she left, and then her mom the next day, that was a broken heart.
Right. I was just thinking that if you're gonna, yes. So I guess you can die of a broken heart.
Yeah, I guess she lost
Um,
both of her mothers to a broken heart
yeah.
because
So that's
that was
pretty
actually kind of
awful.
prophetic whenever you think about it.
Right.
That
Right.
Padme died from a broken heart giving birth to her, and then she
She
dies,
died when, yeah,
and her mom died the next day.
life imitating art and art imitating life. And it's all full circle,
Crazy
right?
how it happens
It
sometimes.
is. It is. Tracy, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us and taking the time to do this. Uh, just thank you. Thank
No,
you for
thank
for
you for having me.
for doing this.
This
It
has been
was
a connection we've had together for what, 30 some
well,
odd
sure, yeah,
years.
some kind of like something like that.
Yeah.
A few
And we can
decades,
sit and
we'll just say
watch
that.
we can sit and watch 3 movies together and then
Yep,
immediately start them again in letterbox version.
yep, yep.
Well, I don't think any of us slept that night.
No, we didn't.
No.
And that's
I think
okay. I would
we got to your
that's the
house at,
one
like,
thing I'd
what,
do again.
3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then watched until we all had to go pick up our siblings from
Right,
school the next
right. That
day.
was that was pretty crazy. Yeah,
Everybody
I'm
piled up in your basement, yeah.
not sure what we were thinking with that, but it was a
We
good
weren't,
time.
we were just watching Star Wars.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what you do.
That's what us Gen Xers do.
Yeah. Yeah, we were the original bingers of movies, right? Because we would just sit and watch all of those in a series.
And we're all talking along with them the
We're
whole
all,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Fun
definitely
times,
fun.
fun times. Great memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks again, Tracy.
All right. Thank you for having me.
After talking about Carrie Fisher and her struggles with mental illness and addiction, I think it's only proper to share that there is an organization in her name called the Foundation for Carrie Fisher, and their whole point is to lead the fight to end the stigma against mental illness and addiction. So you can check them out at foundationforcarriefisher.org. Also, there's another organization I know of called To Write Love on Her Arms. I know they have helped many people over the years and several of my friends. Um, and actually, I know of a friend right now who is raising money um, to support them. So I'm going to share a link to that in the show notes here. And I'm not going to stop you if you want to click on that link and make a donation. You could even do it in Carrie Fisher's honor. I think that would be pretty great. This has been the Matt Dan Toddcast. Thanks for listening. Hello again, everyone. Thanks for joining me for this edition of the very special series of the Star Wars Day holiday special for the month of May. I hope you had a great Star Wars Day on May the 4th. I hope that the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi visited your house and left gifts under your Star Wars Day tree that's surrounded by strung Star Wars Day lights and Rebel ship ornaments. What did you get this year? Um, did you get a baby Wampa, or did you get some Gundark steaks that you can grill, or maybe a year's supply of blue milk? I don't know. I'd like to hear what the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi gave you. Make sure. I hope that you left milk and cookies for his tauntaun, right? Because that's what you do for the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi as he rides around on his tauntaun the night before Star Wars Day. Oh, you've never heard any of this before? Well, it's been going on for 40 years, right? I mean, Star Wars Day has been around since May 25th, 1977, when Orthodox Star Wars Day began. So it's a great time for celebration of a great story, a great epic story. And so today I want to continue the conversations that we've been having about Star Wars and the fond memories we have and the way that it's impacted our lives. Today, we're hearing from Lori, who is an English teacher, and she has an interesting perspective to share
about the film. And I've known Lori since middle school. And I distinctly remember this was, of course, during what I call the dark times, the times when there was no new Star Wars content coming out. Kenner wasn't really making any more Star Wars toys. There really wasn't much at all, except every once in a while there was a glimmer of hope, like Star Tours at Disney World, or a Star Wars celebration here or there, celebrating the major years, like the 10-year anniversary of the release of A New Hope. And so most of my friends didn't really talk about Star Wars. Those of us that really were fans kind of went underground because in middle school you're just trying to be like everyone else, right? And since no one else was talking about Star Wars, we didn't talk about Star Wars. I distinctly remember one day in middle school I saw Lori showed up in a new Star Wars Day, or not Star Wars Day, but a Star Wars shirt, and I believe she got it from Star Wars Celebration, maybe. I could be completely wrong about that, but it was a new Star Wars shirt, and you did not ever see anyone wearing Star Wars shirts, especially in middle school at this time. So I knew then and there that Lori was a Star Wars fan, and she has remained a Star Wars fan throughout the years. So I wanted to get her perspective, especially from that of an English teacher, about Star Wars and what it meant to her, and also about what it means to her students.